and welcome back to part 5, which is indeed the final part of my making of a journal series. For those of you that have followed along the entire series and have seen the previous videos, you have watched me create this hollow-backed bound journal, this lovely sort of boho vintage style journal. We've created the cover and decorated the cover and insides. We've got decorated and stitched and stamped signatures. And we've got little pockets and things in here as well. We've basically all but finished our journals, and today I want to look at just a few finishing touches. In particular, mostly I'm going to be showing you the closure, the closure that I did on my previous journal that I've made myself here, the little charms and trinkets and things like that. I'm going to show you how I made that. And we'll add a few more little finishing details to the cover, maybe add a couple of tabs to the pages. But essentially this is just a sort of winding up of the entire series and focus on the closure. So the closure that I'm going to make is based on two of these little clips. These are the Tim Holtz Hinge clips. But they are basically little miniature bulldog clips. And if you don't have the Ideology ones, I'm sure that you can find something similar elsewhere. I mean, I've got slightly larger ones here. These are from I think these were from the Range here in the UK, which is like a general store that sells a bit of art and craft stuff. From sort of way back in my scrapbooking days, I'd got these little tiny white coloured ones. I'm sure there are scrapbooking companies that probably still make those. Indeed, if it actually came to it, you could probably use just some sort of ordinary bulldog clips, although these tend to be bulkier because they have this sort of wide span for the levers on them. So these ones are a much better style if you can find this sort of thing. So we use two of these, and these will attach to the front and back covers. And to join them, I'll use a little chain, a little ball chain. Now, again, this is from Fab Scraps. These are a little chain and buckle embellishment, and they have this clip on. I don't particularly like these clips. They're quite stiff, but they are for attaching things. But I'm basically removing that clip, not using it. I'm more interested in this little ball chain that has a closure on it here. And it's the sort of thing that you get on a lot of little keyring type ornaments. I'm sure you can find something similar. Now, again, if you can't get this, you could use a little bit of jewellery chain if you've got a broken necklace. If you're a jewellery maker, just use a bit of chain. You could indeed just use a little bit of twine or narrow ribbon, something like that. Something basically to attach the two clips together. And I'm going to feed this through one side of one of my clips here, through one side of the other clip, and then that's going to be joined together like so. But before I join it, I want to add a few little bits and pieces. We want the charms, we want the dangly bits, we want this beautiful sort of boho style eclectic little range of bits and pieces. Now obviously this one that I did here was all sort of reds and golds, that coordinated with the cover of my previous journal. This one I've got reds and greens in the cover, so I've got myself a selection of bits and pieces that I can use. So again, raided the Ideology range, Tim Holtz Ideology range, always very good for this type of thing. And we've got the little typed tokens there with some words on. And I've also got one of the story sticks with a number on it. Now I've just attached some jump rings through the loop, so I've got something to attach them to my chain. I've also just gone through some basic little metal charm embellishments. So we've got a little fake French coin there, pair of scissors, little flat-backed charm of scissors. In my jewellery stash, I'd got some lampwork glass beads. I'd got some tumbled stones from years ago. We used to have a stone tumbler and did some semi-precious stones, and just some acrylic beads, little acrylic flower beads. Got a little metal flower charm here. And some of those I've popped jump rings on the top. Some I'm going to attach using these little bulb pins. These are like a safety pin, but they've got a round bulb at the end which allows for you to add a little bit more to them. Sort of thing that you find on clothing tags. Some companies still use them for attached clothing tags. I just bought these off eBay. I had a selection that they came with different colours in, and I've just popped them in this little tub here, but inexpensive. You could use a normal safety pin, but bear in mind that they're a bit narrower, a normal safety pin. But again, try and think outside the box. If you've got a little bit of craft wire, you could use craft wire to attach things to this chain. There's ways around it. Have a look at what you've got. Again, this is all about using what you've got. I do have a few other bits and bobs there for embellishing the cover. They're not going to be used for doing the clasp, so we'll get on with the closure first of all. And as I say, I've threaded on my 2 clips here, and before I close it, I want to add some charms. So I'm just going to add them on in a random fashion. They're all going to sort of bundle together once it's all closed up together. So I'm going to pop them on there. So I'm going to use one of these little clips to attach a bundle of things. So we'll put this little teardrop pendant on. We'll pop this little metal charm, and also that little dangle with beads there. They look all quite nice together. So that little cluster can now go on. And I'm just going to continue adding the various elements that I want. I think I'm going to save the scissors. They're going to go on the cover along with those buttons. But I'm just going to thread all the other little bits and bobs on here. And then we can just close up this into a little enclosed loop. Like so. Now obviously there's quite a bit of weight in this, and in order to stabilize it a little bit on the other one that I did, I clipped the chain together in a couple of places with a jump ring, just so that it didn't sort of dangle down too much. And I'm going to do exactly the same with this one. Going to just spread it out a little bit. Very difficult to show this actually on camera. I'm just going to take a couple of jump rings and just sort of almost pinch that chain together in 2 places. So I'm going to do that off camera, then I'll show you close up what it looks like. I've tried to do it on the camera, and I can't physically hold it up underneath and still be able to do it with you to be able to see. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. And here's the chain with the jump rings on, and I hope that you can see. Again, tricky thing to kind of hold and get in focus. I've popped a little jump ring across there, popped a jump ring in there, and just separated. I've got basically 3 charms hanging in each section, but it just means that that sort of stays a bit more stabilized rather than wanting to dangle down too far. And then this just attaches with the clips to the front and back cover. So we'll clip one side on there. We'll clip one side on there, and then all those lovely charms just hang and decorate that open edge there on the side of the book. So really pretty, just really nice embellishment on the side of the book there. And it does give you room that obviously as the book gets fatter, if you need to extend that, you can do. So just, you know, if you need to adjust the length of your chain in or out, just do whatever is an appropriate size for the book that you've created. So for on the front cover, as I did on my last journal here, I had a little metal charm and I added some extra buttons. So why not do that here? So again, I had a key-shaped charm on the last one. I want to use these scissors on this one. So again, using one of these little bulb clips, I'm just going to stick that and attach it through the piece of fabric here. I don't even need to glue that on. Just going to attach that in place. I think I'll add a little scrap of cheesecloth that I've got. Just thread that through the loop of that pin and tie that in place. And then just trim off any excess. But again, just adds a little extra detail on there. I've got some lovely little buttons. I've got some like mother of pearl style. These ones absolutely beautiful. These are a coconut shell with an enamel on, and the colours just worked really well with the book cover. This is a lovely one. This is a little handmade glazed ceramic button. But I just thought it was nice to add a little bit more embellishment to the front. So I'm just going to stick these ones in place with some Fabri-Tac. Just sort of decide where is best to pop them. Might actually move those scissors up a little bit. I'll pop them on in a minute. I'm going to pop the buttons down here, I think. So let's just decide where best to pop our scissors this time. I think I might actually pop them on this side here. Yeah, I'm happier with those over there and these lovely buttons where there's a little bit more space for them. So I've also got some ribbons. This is a bit of seam binding. This was some that I tea dyed. Got a bit of sari ribbon here. Love the colours. Again, they coordinate really, really well. Thinking I might add a little bit of these to our closure as well. So I'm just going to maybe narrow this down a little bit to see if I can split it into a narrower piece. And just tie some onto this closure. So just adding some little strands of ribbon there. That just adds a little bit more colour. I quite like that. Ties in very nice with the bits of lace that we can see on the side. As I say, we've got our little charms and buttons on the front. And the only other thing really that I want to do today is add a few tabs to the pages. So just making sure, I think that glue is dry now. Now these are tabs that I die cut. I've got like a little Sizzix die, and then they just fold in half and fit on the edges of pages. If you don't have one of those, now you can create your own. I'm sure many of you probably own a circle punch or a small circle die. This is 1.5 inch circle punch. Now you can take some craft card or whatever colour card or some scrapbook paper, punch out circles, and you've got two options. Now you could fold the circle in half, and attach it on the side like so. Some people like to do that and create a little bit of a tab like that. I think in actual fact it looks much nicer to take 2 circles and stick one front and back on the side of your page like that, and that'll leave you like a semicircular tab showing at the edge. Quite nice if you're using a pretty scrapbook paper, and a bit of strength, because obviously it's going to be a double thickness. You could do it there, you could do these like on the top of the page for sort of indexing at the top. So you have that option. I mean, you could indeed just cut a rectangle of card and fold it and just stick it on so that it's sticking out at the side. But there's quite a few cutting dies on the market, so you know, if you've got a die cutting machine and you're going to be making books regularly, it's well worth investing. So this is quite an old Sizzix die, one of their Sizzlets, but I do have a Thinlet set that has a lot of tabs and things like that in, so there's definitely some that are available at the moment. So I'm trying to decide where best I want to put my tabs, and I'm going to pop them on the first paper page that I've got in each signature. If you remember, I popped vellum around each of my signatures. I don't want to attach it to the vellum because that's a little bit more fragile. So I'm going to take the first paper page and attach a tab, and I'm going to space them. I've got 4 signatures, so I'm going to space them as I go through the book, getting lower and lower so that we can sort of see them all at the side. And I'm just going to use again some Fabri-Tac glue to glue those in place. So that's my tabs in place. So I've got a first tab at the top there at the beginning of my first signature, second tab which will take me to my second signature, third tab here for the 4th signature, and down at the bottom here is the tab for the final signature. And that's just quite nice. You might want to be, you know, dividing these into different sections if you're using this as a diary or a journal, or whether you're just using it as a bit of a scrapbook. It's entirely up to you, but it's nice just to pop those in there. So we can close our clasp back up again like so. Popping that in the middle there. We've got all our beautiful dangling little beads and charms, little tokens there. Our extra embellishment on the front cover with the charms. I've just added a dot of glue to stop these scissors just swinging about when I open and shut the journal. And that's basically it. Thank you so much for all of you that have joined me for this series. Thank you for all the feedback. I know there's many of you that have been working along creating a book, and some of you have shared your progress with me, and it's always lovely to see what you're making and to see and hear that the instructions are nice and clear. You understand what you're doing. It's been broken down into manageable chunks that you can basically refer back to and come and go as you please throughout the series. I've had great fun creating this second book. Really happy with it. I now have 2 and really need to get on with starting to fill up these journals with whatever I'm going to pop inside them. I tend to just want to use it almost as like a little art journal to store ephemera and things like that in. So as always, if you've enjoyed this and found it useful, please leave me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. If you are watching this now in the real time and not at some point in the future, next week's video is going to be a day early. It's coming out on Friday rather than Saturday, as it's part of a collaboration. So I shall see you all then. Bye.